So let's look at our globes and maps notes. You can title your notes globes and maps. You can do this on paper or on docs. I don't care. It's up to you. Just please make sure that you take the notes because it's proven, I say this all the time, that if you put pen to paper, you're going to remember it better. So, and this is important. So write these down. Here are just a few key terms that we're going to need to know before we start really talking about globes and maps. You have seen these already in bell work. So you should be familiar with most of these anyway, but some of them are new or maybe you've heard of them, but you don't really know anything about them. So first we have equator. That's the imaginary line that circles the globe at 0 degrees latitude. You probably learned that before as the imaginary line that cuts the earth in half. That's fine. But we're getting more specific in 8th grade social studies. We're going to talk about latitude and longitude. So at 0 degrees latitude, that's where the equator is. That's important. Next, we have prime meridian. That's the imaginary line that runs through Greenwich, England at 0 degrees longitude. So Greenwich, England is where the prime meridian is, and it sort of just cuts the earth this way, longitude, at 0 degrees longitude. The next key terms, pretty obvious based on the title of our notes. We have globe, which is a 3D scale model of the earth. And we have map, which is a 2D diagram showing all or part of Earth's surface. So 3D, we know what that is. That is three-dimensional. That is like a sphere. So the globe is just like the Earth, so it is spherical. It is a 3D solid shape. And it models the whole Earth. You're not going to find a globe of like Kentucky. It's the whole Earth. A map is a 2D diagram, so that means 2D is like flat, so like paper, and it shows all or part of the Earth's surface. So we could have a map of the United States, we could have a map of Kentucky, we could have a map of Robinson. It's just whatever you want to make it of. Next, we have some map elements that we need to talk about. These, you should know these if you really think about it, but we're going to actually go through and practice using these because it's really important, not just in class, but in life, that you can read a map. That doesn't have to be a paper map. It can be Google Maps, but you need to be able to know sort of what this stuff is telling you. Don't always take it at its word because it'll get you lost sometimes if you've ever been there. I have. So we have title. These are in no certain order, just the order I put them in. Compass rose, scale, and the legend or key. Either way you say it is right. So title, it's going to answer the question, what's the map about? It's just like the title of a book or anything. You just got to have a title. Like you probably in Miss Combs' room for math, if you make your own graph, she says put a title on it. So it's just what's the map about? So if I had a map of Kentucky, my title might be Kentucky. It doesn't get much more complicated than that. Next, we have compass rose, and that's just the directions. So the 4 cardinal directions, we have north, south, east, and west. You should be able to see that compass and know, okay, which way am I heading? Next, we have scale, and that just represents distance. So instead of actually drawing a map that is like if something is 15 miles long, you're not going to get out a piece of paper and just keep connecting it until it's 15 miles. You would make some sort of, you'd use a scale. So it would be like, okay, 2 inches represents 1 mile. So that way your paper, your map will fit on your paper. You don't have to have a big giant monstrosity laid out here. So that's what scale is. It just represents distance. Next we have legend or key, and all that does is explain what symbols stand for. So if you have a triangle on the map, you may look at the key or the legend, and it tells you that a triangle is mountains. You may have a circle on the map, and it like a filled-in circle, and the key tells you that is a major city. A lot of times on state, like if you look at a map of the United States, a star will be a capital city, things like that. And now we're going to talk about the 3 main types of maps that we're going to look at. You've also already seen this in bell work too. A physical map is one, and that just shows landforms, elevations. So a physical map, I always say it shows you physically what the place looks like. So you're not just going to have, oh, this is where Kentucky is. It would show you the mountains. It would show you the major rivers. It would show you, if you're looking at a map of the United States, a physical map. You may see a certain place is colored dark green and another place is colored like yellow. That's based on elevation. So if they have like high mountains, if they have low valleys, if they have plains, things like that. Next, we have a political map. All that does is show boundaries, and it usually shows major cities or waterways, things like that. Um, if there's a big time landmark there, like if it's like in New York, if there's the Statue of Liberty, they may include that on a political map. But all that is, the reason it's called a political map is it's just drawn out. Like it's somebody has just put it there. It's like, okay, these are the boundaries of West Virginia. Now we have the state of West Virginia. That's what a political map is showing. It's just the boundaries. It's if you want to see the shape of a state, you'd look at a political map and you definitely see that. If you're just interested in learning the capitals of all the states, just look at a political map. It should show you that. And we have a thematic map. So a thematic map shows a basic theme about a place. So an example I put here was average amount of rainfall. We're going to look at several different kinds of thematic maps. It can show different things like voter turnout. It can show cell phone coverage areas. It can show population density, things like that. A thematic map just shows a theme, something about a place. So that's it for globes and maps. This is fairly simple. You should know the main difference between a globe and a map is that a globe is 3D and it's a scale model, so it's perfect or as close to perfect as we can get. A map is a 2D flat diagram of all or part of the Earth. And that also, I don't know if we said this, but a map also is pretty distorted. It's not ever going to be perfect. It's not going to be exactly, everything's not going to be exactly spaced out the way it should be and things like that. Everything won't be perfectly represented on a map because you're taking something 3D and you're squashing it to be 2D, and that doesn't work out. If you want to try that, get an orange and flatten it, and then see if it looks the same. It doesn't if you don't have an orange, I'll tell you that. But anyway, if you have any questions, just let me know.